But one of the other stories that I think is going to pick up some momentum is the Lamar Jackson eventual contract talks for the Baltimore Ravens. And Lamar Jackson spoke yesterday about his desire to stay in Baltimore and how he feels about the contract.
I would love to be here forever. I love Baltimore. I love the whole organization. I love everybody in the building. But hopefully we'll be making something happen pretty soon or whenever. I'm really focused on the season. I'm focusing on trying to win. I'm not really worried about if it get done this year or next year. I'm just trying to build and stack, and we're going to see.
This is going to be the new Dak Prescott contract debate. I'm telling you right now. This is going to be the one. This is going to take over for Dak Prescott.
Well, he's got company, right? He's got Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, also same draft year. So it's interesting because you have to look at this from multiple angles. You've got the agent side of things. If I'm any of those three agents, I would be looking at it saying, I want to be last because then I have the opportunity to leapfrog all of them. And Lamar Jackson has the best case for what he's already done.
Yeah.
Based on the fact that he's been a league MVP this past year. Obviously, they've been in the playoffs. He got a win this past year in the playoffs. The Bills and Josh Allen with his trajectory, he's up there too. I think Baker's on the right trajectory as well. But Lamar has the best case for being the highest paid. But we know that's not how it works, right? Like, when you have a franchise quarterback, you're not necessarily looking at his stats. You're saying, what does it cost to be a franchise quarterback? And that number keeps going up and going up and going up. So it's like inflation. We all need milk, we need gas, we need those sorts of things. We go out and we pay for it because it's what it costs, and we need it to get around. So that's kind of how it works. If your team wants a chance of winning a Super Bowl, you got to have a quarterback. Those three teams, in my opinion, all have their quarterback. So now it just comes down to the timing of it and when they sign those deals. Lamar's contract is the most interesting from the team perspective compared to the other two because he's a dual threat quarterback. So his injury risk is that much higher. In fact, 2 of the last 3 seasons, he's led their team in rushing attempts. He's got almost 500 rushing attempts in his 3 years playing. And so when you take into account that fact and how an injury could dramatically change, what his abilities are or his impact on their offense is, it kind of leaves some question marks there. There's been some question marks about his passing game, his development as a passer. Statistically, you could make an argument a couple years ago. If you actually turn on the tape and diagnose what their offense is, he struggles with throwing the football down the field on a consistent basis. So, and he's not going to be a finished product yet. There's still room to grow, but there are some major concerns, I think, for Baltimore as opposed to with the other teams that have probably different concerns. And so that's why this contract is one where I wouldn't be surprised if they don't get through this year. If they give him one, it'll probably be one where it's not going to be as heavy in guarantees because of some of that injury risk. Yeah. But that's the reality of I think, the type of player he is they love him for what he can do right now, but like, what does he look like 4 years from now if he's continually being the leading rusher on their team? And remember, he's not the biggest guy, right? I mean, Lamar Jackson is more slight of frame. I think he weighs about 215 pounds, like 6'2".
And he bulked up this season. He was bigger this season when he came out, and he's still not a very big guy.
No.
Yeah. So the Dak Prescott contract was really fun to watch because you and I were saying the entire time he's going to get paid. Oh, he's not deserving of it. I mean, he doesn't deserve top-tier quarterback money. No, you're missing the point. It's not about where you rank. It's about when your time is up. And when your time is up to get paid, you're going to get paid. Dallas doesn't have the balls to walk away from Dak Prescott. And Dallas waited, and they waited, and they waited, and Dak Prescott was patient. And ultimately, Dak Prescott got everything he possibly wanted in the contract and then some. Got everything he could possibly want and then some in the contract. He won every aspect of the negotiation. The length of the contract, the guaranteed money, all of it. Like, he got everything he possibly wanted. Lamar Jackson, the argument you can make for him, similar to Dak Prescott saved that organization. Because when Tony Romo went down, he was the third option on that team. He was like the fourth option in the draft. They wanted Carson Wentz. They couldn't get him. They wanted Paxton Lynch. They couldn't get him. They wanted Connor Cook. Couldn't get him. And they settled for Dak Prescott. He saved jobs and saved their franchise and their organization. Lamar Jackson did the same thing. There was reports out in 2018 that John Harbaugh was gone after the season, that Joe Flacco was going to be leaving because Ozzie Newsome was also leaving, and so they thought, all right, new regime, Eric DeCosta is going to take over, and then we turn it over to Lamar Jackson, and then we try and build fresh. And all of a sudden, they go on that run that ultimately got them into the postseason. They lost that game against the Chargers. But then John Harbaugh signs an extension afterwards. DeCosta, Ozzie Newsome's already moving on, and Lamar Jackson takes over the team. I find it hard to believe that Lamar Jackson is anywhere else other than Baltimore. He wants to be there for the rest of his career. I think he's going to be there for the next several years because I don't think they have the balls to walk away from him. I really don't. I think he's going to be a Baltimore Raven, and they're going to get it done.
It's a bit of an apples-oranges comparison. And reason being is because he's played 3 years there. He's still under contract for 2 more. They picked up his 5th-year option. It's now fully guaranteed once they pick up the option. Didn't used to be like that. You used to be able to pick it up before the quarterback's 4th year. And unless he was injured in that 4th year, you could, after that 4th year, if you decided he's not the guy for us, you could wipe your hands, move on from him. And you could actually go ahead and release him and not have to own up to that. Now it's different. This group, when you pick up the 5th-year option, it's fully guaranteed. So he's got 2 more years left there. Where Dak was looking into free agency, he'd already been franchise tagged once. I mean, for formalities, they did it a second time before they signed the long-term extension. But that's again, a separate deal. It's more for formalities. His contract, the way it looked, the way it's structured, why he got everything was because he was looking up against free agency. Like they didn't have anywhere else to go. And I'm not saying that Baltimore is going to go in a different direction either, but he's still under contract for 2 more years. So I think it's an interesting scenario to watch for a number of reasons. Like, going back to the agent standpoint, if I was an agent, I might want to wait 1 more year. Did you see what the cap is projected to be in 2022?
Right.
$208 million. Now, that is $30 million. Almost $30 million more than what it is this year. Now, remember, we dipped back down because of everything that happened last year with COVID, no fans, and all the stuff the owners and all that were hit with. But then, if you look at 2022 compared to 2020, it actually increased another $10 million from where it was this past season. So we dip in 2021, we jump right back up in 2022, and guess what's going to happen in 2023? You're going to have another monumental leap with the gambling revenue, with full stadiums back this season. 30 of 32 teams have already announced that's going to be the case. You're going to be having that number jump again. So if I'm an agent, if I'm a quarterback, I'm okay being patient because I know I'm going to have so much more room under that projected salary cap in 2023 that once I know that number, I can work off of that. All these agents have and teams have right now is that 2022 figure. So, again, patience usually works out for the best, but I also think the team probably wants to be patient too to see his development, to see if he gets hurt or injured or not before they guarantee or go into any long-term deal, even though it'll be more economical for Baltimore to sign him to that long-term deal first because then Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, those guys are going to try to leapfrog him.
Well, that's what I want to ask you this before we get to break. Of those quarterbacks in the 2018 class, Mayfield, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, who would you advise sign first?
Lamar. I think
because of the injuries.
Because of potential injury risk, he's already been an MVP, so I think he does have a good case for being able to kind of say, look, of all these guys in this class, I've been an MVP. We've gone to the playoffs. We won a playoff game. We're moving in the right direction. But to me, in my mind, there's still that injury risk. So I would rather lock in on as big of a deal as I get now compared to the other guys because next year, if you were telling me, like, hey, who's dark horses to win the MVP in the AFC, it'd be Baker Mayfield and Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Like, outside of Mahomes, outside of Lamar and Justin Herbert, like, those would be the other two names I'd throw in there. So, I think those guys, not that they shouldn't want to get a long-term deal. It's tough to turn down a $100 million guarantee, which is what they're all going to get. But if I was Lamar, I'd want to lock into it now. And by the way, I don't even know who his agent is, because back when he was being drafted, I think his mom represented him or something, or they had an attorney do some stuff. So I'm not even sure who. Don't you remember back when he was being drafted? Yes. They would call and they're like, we want to work Lamar out, but there's no one to talk to about it.
Yeah, it's like somebody gives you a fax number. It's like, how am I supposed to get a hold of you? And you just keep calling it, and it's the fax number they get.
I just kept picturing that long landline in someone's kitchen with a long extension cord, and it just keeps ringing, but everyone's in the opposite room. Watch something on TV and no one's answering.
By the way, I also think it would be worth Josh Allen to think about getting a contract get done soon, because we get it done soon, so that way they can't release him if he's not vaccinated. I just want to make sure that.
That is a big concern apparently in Buffalo, which apparently HIPAA rights don't matter anymore. We've thrown that out the window, and we've gone ahead at demanding that people get vaccinated, otherwise they have to wear a mask, which is a direct correlation to whether or not you've been vaccinated. That's a slippery slope that apparently no one thought about up there in Buffalo.
You know what we do as well as anybody? Drive-bys. Just a little bing bing. Just one of those. Just letting you know we're here, right over here.
I mean, do these people not think anymore? And then now you've got he talked about cutting players if they're not vaccinated.
It's so good.
I mean, come on, dude.
Yeah,
it's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Yeah, but you know what? You got bigger issues, like why people are throwing sex toys on the field. Once you figure that out,
that is true.
Yeah,
that is true.